The controversy that I stirred up a few years ago, and I think more people are starting to understand exactly what it means, has been, what is the cause of terrorism and how do you deal with it? Well, I think you have to combat terrorism when force comes, when they start bombing us and doing things. You have to strike back, whether it's Pearl Harbor or whether it's 9/11, and I supported that. But I also think you have to understand the motivation. The Al-Qaeda are people who just for 15, 20 years are so disgusted with us over there interfering, propping up dictators. We claim we're promoting democracy, but we prop up the dictators over there. And, in Saudi Arabia, and they don't cherish civil liberties at all. And they believe that if we don't do that, we won't be able to succeed at all. But the Al-Qaeda are motivated by that, to come over here. They're the ones who are really angry, and they'll come and get us. But they're angry because we're over there killing their people, and they feel an obligation to do it. Robert Pape wrote a very important book because he's the one who has done the most investigation of suicide terrorists. And the book is called Dying to Win. And his conclusion after studying all these hundreds of cases was that the strongest single motivation was not Islam. It was occupation. And when I started reading that book, I knew he was wrong. I was going to read it anyway and argue with him in my mind that it's Islam. They want to kill us. They're violent people. But he actually absolutely convinced me that they don't like occupation, and they are driven to that force where they're really willing to commit suicide. Now the Taliban, we're over there. We're chasing around. The Taliban is the enemy, so we're killing the Taliban, and they're the enemies, and they're attacking. The Taliban is not like the Al-Qaeda. They're not making plans to come over here, but they don't like us over there. They're mainly wanting to get us off their soil. And what would we do? What would we do if the Chinese were here? Doing some of these things, we would be banded together, and I think probably everybody would agree we ought to make use of the Second Amendment. But that's what in our administrations, both sides have not understood this. Maybe they understand it, don't want to, and maybe their strongest motivation is oil and other things, but they do not want to back away from this. So that is very discouraging because I see no way unless we change our foreign policy. I believe that is the most important reason why they want to come here. One of the most, if it's maybe the most radical Islamic country is Iran. When's the last time you've read a story about somebody from Iran committing suicide? It doesn't happen. Where was the most suicide terrorism? It was in Sri Lanka, in the Tamil Tigers, and they're not even Muslims. But it was an occupation that they saw by a faction which is associated with India. So if we don't understand that, and if you buy into this thing, no, it's their religion, they're bad people, and they don't like our freedoms and our prosperity. It just isn't true. I mean, they're not bashful about saying exactly why they come here. And they have listed the reasons why they come. And they've never listed, our freedoms, our prosperities. And as much as they might be, as much as they might disapprove of our movies and TV programs and all, they didn't bomb Hollywood. They bombed the Pentagon and the financial institutions. And they have been rather blunt about what the reasons are, and they list their reasons. The reason is occupation, and they think it's that we do not support fairly the Palestinians, and it was the constant bombing that has been going on for quite a few years. And this was the main reason that they listed, and the support for the other dictators. So the Founding Fathers advised that we have a non-interventionist foreign policy, that we trade and talk with people, be friends with people, which I believe proved the point with Vietnam now. We get along with them much better. I wish we could get along a lot better with the Cubans. I would have, and I always have voted and pushed for the idea that why can't we just talk to them or trade with them or visit there? The founder said, if you're trading and talking to people, you're less likely to fight with them. And I believe that Castro wouldn't have lasted this long if we'd have done that. But we still have a strong, we're going to try one more time. Matter of fact, in this lame duck session, there's a chance that we are going to try to bring this up because it's sort of split. There's probably more Democrats that want to have open relations with Cuba than Republicans, but we have a group of Republicans that are very strong on this. But I'm a strong believer that we should have free trade with as many countries as possible. But, we're moving along in this country in the wrong direction, not only in foreign policy and the economic policy, but what about the intrusions of our privacies and our civil liberties? We live in an age now where both political parties have not only supported these foreign adventurism, wars without declarations, but they have endorsed this principle, which is abhorrent, and that is preventive war. Where did that ever come about? Preventive war is aggression. And we do it in the name of our religion because we have many Christians that believe that, yes, we need to go over there. These are hateful people, and it is our religious duty to go over there and do it before they come over here. I think it's horrible. What we have endorsed now a policy of assassinations. It has been going on for a while, even with the last administration, but this administration is bringing it out right in the open. Not only sending drones around the world, picking out some bad guys, oh, he's a Taliban leader, we got to kill him. A few innocent, oh, that's collateral damage, that's no big problem. But now the principle has been testified in Congress that our government can target for assassination American citizens. You realize what this is meaning. And also, habeas corpus is being severely challenged. Secret prisons, and if you don't support it, you've heard it. Oh, you're not patriotic. You're not an American. Well, why would I be not patriotic if I'm defending the Constitution? Isn't that a bit bizarre? So this is these are the conditions that we have. We have tremendous violations of our civil liberties, a foreign policy that has gone wild, a monetary system that has driven us into bankruptcy, and economics that are looking very bad. Now, one of the reasons why I have spent a lot of time on the Federal Reserve is I don't believe the government could have gotten this big if we'd have had honest money, because you can spend. And you can borrow and you can tax, but there'd be a limit. If people quit loaning, interest rates would go up and you'd have to quit. But if the Fed's there and they create money out of thin air, it can go on for a lot longer. So I think the Federal Reserve has to be really challenged. That's why we worked real hard on at least getting the door open, auditing the Fed. We had 320 Congressman bipartisan support for auditing the Fed, but it was taken out. They did not allow that to go through in the final passage. And this next term, I will be introducing a bill because we will have to have monetary reform. It's going to come. So I'm going to ask for an audit of the gold. It's not been audited for 50 years. Central banks love... I just think that that's just basic. How could anybody be opposed to finding out what we have in the bank? It to me is so necessary. I'm going to tell one little story that went on at the end of the presidential campaign, and then I think we're probably going to be getting pretty close to that time we can take some questions. But after the campaign was over, because of these views that I've just expressed, they didn't fit well with our Republican candidate. It just didn't seem to mesh very well. So I was disloyal and didn't endorse him. And I don't know whether I'll be forgiven for that or not. But I did speak with those in alternative parties. See, it really aggravates me that our government assumes that they can take the young people, spend all this money, and go over and pretend, at least on the surface, that we're going to teach you to be good Democrats. Democracy. We're over there having elections and all this thing. We've rigged more elections around the world than we've ever had good elections. So here we go around the world dying to promote elections, and it's all a farce. At the same time, in this country, if you want to belong to a party other than the Republican or Democrat Party, what are your chances? You know, what would the chances of me being in a national debate in a third party? Slim to none, unless I was a billionaire. And I haven't reached that yet. No, some very wealthy people might too. Ross Perot, you know, made some inroads. But the system is not set up for competition, and I don't like that. So I wanted to give a little boost to the alternative party. So I got the Libertarian Party candidate, the Green Party candidate, Ralph Nader, and who was the other one? The Libertarian Party, I said. There were four: the Green Party and Ralph Nader, the Constitutional Party. Anyway, well, we had the four, and you know, very conservative, constitutional, and very liberal. I mean, you can't get in the conventional sense a liberal Ralph Nader and the Green Party. But I talked to him. I said, "Would you sign a statement?" And my statement had 4 points: bring the troops home, get rid of the empire, get rid of the Patriot Act and pay more attention to civil liberties and privacy, and also balance the budget and get rid of the Fed. And I thought, wow, this to me is a fantastic coalition. If you can take people across the political spectrum and bring them together. The only thing those who liked more spending than I did had, and I agreed to this, is that they didn't have to sign something to say how you would balance the budget. Because I, of course, would balance the budget by cutting spending. And they said, well, as long as, you know, they have the option of raising taxes or something. But if you get rid of the Fed, they lost the option of printing money. So that wouldn't solve the problem. So we had a nice press conference, but still, we are so conditioned to know that that's just a wasted vote, because you got to vote for one of the two major parties. And over my years, I've come to the conclusion that there's not a lot of difference. You know, we hear a lot of fighting and screaming. You know, we're going to have a revolution. We're going to have the Republicans in, the Democrats in, and everything is going to be new and different. But, you know, when the Democrats get in, they're more hawkish than the Republicans. When the Republicans get in, they spend more money than the Democrats. And they both love the Federal Reserve, and they both love to police your personal privacy. So I would say one day we'll have to wake up. Now, do we have to have a third party to have a true revolution? No, you don't have to have a third party. But if you have a revolution, and a revolution of ideas, those ideas will have to permeate both parties. Because the major economic revolution of the Depression, they blame capitalism and the gold standard and not enough government regulations, and that caused the Depression. Completely wrong on that issue, but the people accepted it, the professors accepted it, and they ushered in the age of Keynesianism, interventionism, the planned society, not socialism, just the planned society, which always moves toward socialism. So that wasn't one party. It wasn't the Democrats. And Nixon confirmed it, you know, on that date in 1971. He says, when he closed the gold rush and did all this horrible things, he says, we're all Keynesians now. And I thought, well, that's when I better get busy, because I'm not a Keynesian and I'm going to get involved.